The slap wasn't loud. It was a dull, wet thud that sucked all the air out of the grand ballroom. 200 guests, tuxedos, silk gowns, champagne glasses, fell silent. The string quartet stopped mid-note. Every head turned in unison. All eyes on me. All eyes on my mother. Her hand was still raised, diamond rings catching the chandelier light. Her face, usually a mask of practiced grace, twisted into something ugly and raw. The sting bloomed hot across my cheek, but it was nothing compared to the glacial cold flooding my chest. This was my sister Madison's wedding. The happiest day of her life, supposedly. And my own mother had just slapped me in front of everyone we'd ever known. Why? Because 60 seconds earlier, I'd said one word. No. But to understand how we got here, how my own mother could humiliate me like this, we need to go back. Because this story? It doesn't start with a slap. It starts with 20 years of poison and a family that never saw me as a son. Only as a resource to be drained dry. The rot was already there when we were kids. When Madison and I both turned 16, she got a cherry red convertible. Wrapped in a bow. My mother cried tears of joy. My father clapped her on the back like she'd won the Olympics. 6 months later, on my birthday, a bus schedule and a lecture about building character. They weren't raising a son and a daughter. They were raising a queen and a workhorse to pull her chariot. So I worked. Scholarships. Ramen. Late nights in a dorm room building a tech company from scratch. I wasn't just building a career, I was building an escape route. The penthouse was the final stone in that fortress. 40 floors up, floor-to-ceiling windows, the whole city below me. It was mine. My sanctuary. The one place their manipulation couldn't reach. Or so I thought. Because exactly 1 month before the wedding, my sister said something at dinner that should have been a red flag. Actually, it was an air raid siren. I just didn't hear it yet. We're at some overpriced restaurant my father loves. Madison's describing her honeymoon, Maldives, private villa, the works. Her fiancé Ryan is nodding along. All teeth and expensive hair gel. Then she turns to me, wine glass in hand. You know, the penthouse is so big for just one person. Ryan and I were saying it's the perfect place to start a family. Ryan laughs. Now honey, you can't just ask for your brother's apartment. But his eyes? Sharp. Assessing. Like a shark before it bites. I tried to laugh it off. Sorry Maddie, doorman has a strict no freeloaders policy. The table went silent. My mother wasn't looking at Madison. She was looking at me. No warmth. No affection. Just the cold stare of a strategist sizing up an obstacle. Don't be selfish, dear. Family helps each other. That wasn't a suggestion. It was a warning. I should have seen it then. The wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was the stage for their boldest move yet. And I was expected to hand over the keys to my entire life, with a smile, all for family. The family that had been bleeding me dry since I was 16. Fast forward to the reception. White roses. Champagne towers. The city's elite in their natural habitat. I'm nursing bourbon when I see them across the room. My parents. Madison. Ryan. Huddled together like a war council. Then my mother starts moving toward me. She takes my arm, her grip like steel beneath the silk glove. Darling, let's chat. She doesn't take me to a private room. She steers me to a spot near the wedding cake. Still public. Still visible. This was a performance, and she wanted an audience. Look at your sister. This is the start of her real life. A life that needs a proper foundation. My father nods. Security. You understand security. I stay silent. Make them say it. The penthouse, my mother continues, her voice dripping with false sacrifice. It's the perfect wedding gift. You've had your fun, but now it's time for it to serve a real purpose. It's time to support your sister. It's what a good son would do. Across the room, Ryan's already smirking. Like it's a done deal. I look at my mother's demanding gaze. My father's stony silence. 20 years of being the afterthought, the workhorse, the ATM, it all crystallizes into one diamond-hard point of clarity. I set my bourbon down with a sharp click. No. My mother flinches like I'd struck her. Disbelief morphs into fury. What did you just say to me? I said no. The penthouse is mine. I earned it. It's not a gift. It's not a family asset. It's not up for discussion. For 1 second, absolute silence. Then her entire face tightens. Her body coils like a snake. And her hand flies. I walked out of that wedding without a word. I thought that was the end of it. I thought wrong. Because when my phone started buzzing an hour later, I realized the slap wasn't the attack. It was just the opening shot. My phone didn't stop for 48 hours. The family group chat became a war room. Aunts and uncles I hadn't spoken to in years materialized with poison-tipped messages. You've shamed this family. Your selfishness is breathtaking. After everything your mother has done for you. I didn't reply. Just watched the messages pile up, each one another brick in the wall I was building between us. Then Madison called. I answered on speaker, staring out my penthouse windows at the city lights below. She wasn't shouting. She was crying. The same theatrical sob I'd heard 1,000 times, usually right before she got exactly what she wanted. I don't understand how you could be so cruel. Ryan is under so much pressure. We needed this. All you had to do was say yes. Why do you always make everything about you? Classic manipulation. She's not the entitled bride demanding a multi-million-dollar gift, she's the wounded victim of my cold-hearted cruelty. But something she said stuck with me. Ryan is under so much pressure. What pressure? The guy wore a 6-figure watch. Drove a Porsche. His investment firm was supposedly killing it. Unless. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and you ruined it. I ended the call mid-sentence. The silence that followed was beautiful. And in that silence, a new thought formed. Sharp. Clear. Ryan's perfect life. My family's perfect image. What if it was all a house of cards? And what if I was the gust of wind that could bring it all down? The morning after Madison's tearful performance, I didn't call a therapist. I called Julian Croft. Julian's firm specialized in what he called comprehensive personal due diligence. Translation, he dissected lives for a living. And I was hiring him to put my new brother-in-law on the operating table. I want to know where every dollar comes from and where every dollar goes. I have a feeling my family hitched their wagon to a falling star. Julian just nodded. I'll be in touch within the week. 7 days later, blocked number. I have the preliminary report. Are you somewhere private? I was standing at my window, watching headlights stream across the freeway 40 floors below. I am. What he told me over the next 10 minutes was a masterclass in deception. Ryan's investment firm, Caldwell Capital, was a phantom. A ghost built on debt and smoke. Classic Ponzi scheme. Using new investor money to pay old investors, skimming millions for himself to fund that lavish lifestyle. The cars. The watch. The $50,000 wedding. All financed by fraud. But that wasn't even the worst part. There's more. He's been flagged. There are whispers in the financial sector. My sources confirm he's the subject of an active federal fraud investigation. Cold realization washed over me. That's why they wanted the penthouse. Not as a gift. As a life raft. A hard asset to leverage before the whole ship went down. My family wasn't spoiling their princess, they were bailing out a sinking con man. One more thing, Julian said. Some unusual wire transfers. They don't fit the pattern. He sent an encrypted file. It's probably nothing. But you should see it. I opened that file that night. Just a list of dates, amounts, account numbers. Cold data. But as I stared at it, a sickening dread crawled up my spine. Because the fraud? That was Ryan's story. But this felt personal. And when I dug deeper, I found something that made the federal investigation look like a parking ticket. The wire transfers. The destination was a holding company in the Cayman Islands. Classic offshore ghost. But the originating account? A shell corporation I recognized from my father's old business dealings. One he'd bragged about for its tax efficiency. My blood ran cold. The transactions spanned 2 years. Millions of dollars. My parents' entire life savings poured directly into Ryan's phantom firm. They weren't just his biggest advocates. They were his seed investors. His willing partners. The slap. The demand. The pressure campaign. It was never about Madison's happiness. It was about their own desperate, catastrophic mistake. I thought I held checkmate. I thought I was invincible. I sent one text to the family group chat, "Be at my penthouse. Tonight. 7 p.m. All of you." Then I muted it. They arrived like they owned the place. United front. Regal expectation. My mother and Madison looked smug. They thought I'd cracked. I didn't offer them seats. I laid a black folder on my kitchen island. Let's skip the pleasantries. I looked directly at Ryan. Caldwell Capital. Impressive name. Less impressive reality. It's a house of cards. A Ponzi scheme. And a clumsy one. Ryan went pale. Madison gasped. How dare you? You're just jealous. I ignored her. Must be exhausting, juggling all that debt. Paying old investors with new money. I paused. Especially with the feds sniffing around. A federal fraud investigation is no small thing. This was my victory lap. Ryan looked like he'd vomit. Madison was speechless for the first time in her life. Then my mother stepped forward. Not shocked. Furious. You would ruin this family over a building? Ryan is a brilliant businessman facing temporary challenges. I almost laughed. The denial was breathtaking. Temporary challenges? Mom, he's a criminal. He's going to prison. I opened the folder, the printout of their wire transfers, and pushed it across the marble countertop toward my father. I know everything. I know you funded him. It's over. I expected begging, crying, shouting. Instead, dead silence. My father looked at the paper, then at me. His expression wasn't anger. It was pity. You fool. You think you've won? You haven't won anything. You've just sentenced us all. And that's when my mother said the words that flipped my entire world upside down. Our money isn't just I and his company, you idiot, my mother spat. Our retirement. The house. Every last dime we have is tied up in his success. That penthouse wasn't a gift for your sister. It was our only backup plan. The world tilted. I wasn't the hero exposing a villain to victims. I was the man who just lit a match in a room soaked with gasoline and only now realized he was locked inside with the arsonists. My father's face was ashen. You will do nothing. You will say nothing. You will not be the one who sinks this family. Not a request. A threat. They left together. Not as a family in crisis. As co-conspirators. For a moment, I was paralyzed. Then I felt the phantom sting of my mother's hand on my cheek. They made their choice long ago. Now I made mine. I called Julian back. I need something else. The fraud is a bomb. I need a scalpel. Something that will surgically remove my sister's loyalty. Find me something personal. 1 week later, I did the unthinkable. I called for a truce. Family dinner at my parents' house. Invited my judgmental aunt and uncle as mediators. It's time to heal, I wrote. They agreed instantly. Smug satisfaction dripping from every reply. They thought I was coming to surrender. I was coming to burn the table down. The dinner was a masterwork of tension. My aunt preached about family sanctity. My uncle talked about forgiveness. My parents played concerned patriarchs. Madison was the wounded princess. Ryan, the dutiful husband. They were all performing. And I let them. I ate my dinner. Listened to their hypocritical speeches. Waited. As dessert plates were being cleared, I finally spoke. I appreciate everyone's concern. Every eye turned to me. And in the spirit of honesty, there's one last secret we need out in the open. I looked at Ryan. His fork froze midair. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a black envelope. Slid it across the mahogany table until it stopped at Madison's wine glass. I believe this concerns you. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, a dozen high-resolution photos. Ryan with a woman who was not my sister. Hotel bar. Hotel lobby. Kissing in the back of a taxi. Dated 2 nights before the wedding. Ryan stammered. My aunt gasped. My uncle fell silent. But I was watching my sister. A guttural sob tore from her throat as her carefully constructed fantasy shattered. This was the moment any normal mother would rush to her daughter's side. Would turn fury on the man who broke her heart. But my mother didn't move. She didn't even glance at Madison. Her eyes, burning with cold, terrifying fire, were locked on me. Her daughter's world was collapsing, and her rage wasn't for the liar, the cheater, the con man. It was for me. Pure, unadulterated hatred for the son who dared show them a truth they couldn't afford to see. My aunt found her voice first. Eleanor, my God. Your daughter, and you're looking at your son like he's the monster? You think this matters? My mother hissed, gesturing dismissively at Madison's tears. A meaningless fling? He has risked everything for a petty, childish grudge. Get out, she growled at my aunt and uncle. Get out of my house. They stared, horrified, but my father stood and pointed to the door. The front door clicked shut. Now just the 5 of us remained. With no audience left, the final mask dropped. I still don't get it, I said. He's a fraud. A cheater. He's ruined you. Why are you still protecting him? My mother laughed, wild, unhinged. Protecting him? I'm protecting this family from you. He didn't ruin us, my father said flatly, staring at his dark reflection in the window. We knew the risks. It was an investment. The floor tilted beneath me. An investment? Dad, it's a Ponzi scheme. There never was a company. Never any real returns. It was a lie from day one. It was not a lie, my mother shrieked. It was an opportunity. High risk, high reward. We knew his methods were aggressive. We knew he needed capital. We went in with our eyes wide open. And there it was. The final, hideous truth. They hadn't been duped. They'd walked willingly into the casino, placed their entire fortune on a single bet, and prayed for a miracle. They knew he was a fraud. They just didn't think he'd fail. The penthouse wasn't a backup plan for when things went wrong. It was supposed to be the final injection of capital to keep the con going long enough for them all to get rich. So it wasn't just Madison and Ryan against me. It wasn't even my parents trying to save themselves. It was my own parents, right from the very beginning, standing with the con man. Against their own son. I walked out and didn't look back. The sounds of Madison's sobbing faded behind me until there was only the quiet hum of my car's engine. Back in my penthouse, I opened my laptop. Julian's files. Wire transfers. Defrauded investors. Shell corporations. Federal investigation evidence. I added one more folder, Ryan's infidelity photos. Put it all on a single, unmarked hard drive. I didn't call the police. That would be quiet. Private. Their crimes were public. Their punishment needed to be, too. I made one call, to a journalist at the Times known for her tenacity and zero mercy for corrupt elites. I have a story that'll burn a hole in the city's high society. I sent the drive by secure courier. Then I waited. 2 days of silence. On the 3rd morning, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise, my phone lit up. News alert. Financial wunderkind Ryan Caldwell arrested in multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme, wife's prominent family implicated as co-conspirators. Then the storm broke. I turned on the news. My family's entire world was on fire. Anchors dissecting Ryan's fraud. Financial analysts pointing to my parents' names, calling them either grossly negligent or criminally complicit. Then the live feed. Federal agents walking a handcuffed Ryan to an unmarked car. He looked small. Pathetic. Reporters shouting questions. Camera flashes like strobe lights. Cut to my parents' house. A fortress under siege by news vans. A reporter on their manicured lawn, detailing how the family's reputation was in tatters. Madison trying to reach her car, face hidden by sunglasses. A ghost haunting the ruins of her own life. I watched it all unfold from 40 floors up. I felt a flicker of something. But it wasn't pity. It was finality. They built their kingdom on my silence. On my compliance. On the expectation I'd always be their workhorse. I didn't destroy their lives. I just stopped holding them up. The consequences came fast. Ryan took a plea deal. 7 to 10 years in federal prison. His name is now a cautionary tale whispered at cocktail parties. Madison filed for divorce before the ink dried. Lost everything. The house. The car. The social standing. Her last contact was a rambling, tear-soaked voicemail at 3 a.m. A pathetic cocktail of blame, regret, and a half-hearted plea for money. I deleted it without listening to the end. My parents suffered a different kind of death. Financial ruin, swift and total. The house sold to cover debts. Their friends now cross the street to avoid them. Exiled from the world they worshipped, their reputation incinerated. I changed my number. Instructed my lawyers to return any correspondence. I cut them out as cleanly as a surgeon removing a tumor. The silence they left behind was vast. For the first time in my life, I was truly, completely alone. I kept the penthouse, of course. It's quiet now. Sometimes I stand at these vast windows, looking down at the sprawling city, and I trace the sequence. The demand. The slap. The investigation. The revenge. I have everything I fought to protect. I'm safe. Successful. The undisputed victor of a war they started. But standing here in the silence of my victory, I have to ask myself the question they always implicitly asked. Did I become the villain they always said I was? I didn't seek this fight. But when it came, I didn't just defend. I annihilated. A better person might have walked away. A kinder person might have found forgiveness. But when I look back at my mother's face, contorted with rage not for her daughter's betrayal, but for my defiance, I know there was no other path. It wasn't a choice between good and evil. It was a choice between my life and theirs. And I chose mine. I thought that was the end. I thought the silence was my hard-won peace. I started to rebuild. To imagine a future free from their toxic gravity. I truly believed the war was over. But I made a critical error. I underestimated the venom of people who have nothing left to lose. I took their money and their reputation. But I left them with the one thing that could still be weaponized. Their sheer, bottomless desperation. A few months later, a letter from an unfamiliar law firm proved just how wrong I was. Because that wasn't the last time they tried to take everything from me.